You know, I still don't have my review key, so playing this for a little bit. Just gonna finish one tower. Well, too far away to do that. Maybe he doesn't synergize with that very well. Nope, didn't mean to do that. It's all good. I'll get another one for the end. Via the portal. How are you still alive? I do not want to die. I wish this game had Typhoon. Why the hell did they get rid of Typhoon? It would make this character far more playable. They keep adding all these useless elements. All the elements they added in this version just suck. Bring back Typhoon. That's what made the short-range characters like actually playable. A reach plus 20 helps, but this moveset in particular would definitely benefit from Typhoon. Remove like all the fun elements, just keep all the boring ones that serve no purpose. At least Harmony actually has a purpose now. What's up, bro? close am I to maxing his weapon? I've got to be pretty close now. Yeah, 68. So next map, since I have Harmony 20, it should max. No, they haven't. Which is why I'm playing this. You know what got screwed over? Battle for the Grid. That's like actually a good game, and the netcode actually works. And the community's passionate about it. Why doesn't that get into EVO? Should like remove all the games from EVO that have terrible netcode. Like have like Skullgirls and like Marvel Infinite, and like Killer Instinct, Battle for the Grid, and like nothing else. So all the other games have terrible netcode. Didn't kill him somehow. Oh, that unique magic's so ass. Give him like a big rider roundhouse kick or something. Instead of that Indiana Jones thing he does. Ling Tong's unique magic is cool because it's basically just like an EX Tatsu from Street Fighter. It does a ton of damage too. EVO wasn't that great to go to anyway. I've been there like 3 times. Really not that great of an event to go to. It's just a shame that it has so much bearing on like the games that people will actually play. Like just because it's there, people will play games or not play them, which is sad. It shouldn't be that way. There's plenty of other better events than EVO that are cheaper to go to as well. Everything in Vegas costs a ton. Like, even like dollar menu at Wendy's is like double price for no reason. I guess I went the first year they moved to Vegas, which was 2005. And back then it wasn't necessary. A lot of people were complaining about it because it jacked up the prices of everything, but now they're so big that I guess they don't have a choice. It really isn't that great to go to. It's very crowded, very hot, very expensive. I heard the last couple years you couldn't even like bring water inside or something. It's a nightmare for anybody who has like medications they need to take, but I guess they don't care about that. I don't really care about Grand Blue because it looks like just more slow footsies and stuff, and the netcode's going to be abysmal, so I don't really have any interest in playing it myself. The RPG mode actually looks pretty cool. I mean, that's something that more fighting games need, is a way to play it. When the online is nothing but laggy rage quitters, like actually have something for casual people to enjoy. I think it's cool that they have that, but I'm not gonna buy the game. Maybe when it's like $20 in 6 months or something. Really hard for me to justify full price for fighting games right now, and I don't live in San Jose anymore. If I was still in San Jose, then I would play a lot more fighting games, because people there will play pretty much anything, but where I'm at now in Bakersfield, it's hard to even get people to show up to meetups, let alone play anything that's not Street Fighter, so if the game has bad netcode, I'm just not going to buy it, plain and simple. I used to play a lot more fighting games on the channel, and the only reason I stopped was because I moved here in 2011, and I stopped having a regular place to play. It's funny how the netcode has gotten, like, no better since then. It's gotten worse in some ways. Yes, but the online people only put up with online because they don't have a choice. When I lived in San Jose, it didn't really matter that the game still had terrible netcode even back then, because we would meet up every week and play. So how badly it functioned online was not an issue, but now I'm in the position of most people that don't live in California, or more specifically, are able to go to Wednesday night fights. If your game doesn't function online, then I'm not going to play it. Dragon Ball FighterZ was like the last straw for me. I mean, I thought that game was decent. It wasn't great or anything, but I just got so tired of the terrible online. It was just making the game even more frustrating to play. It was already a very frustrating game to play because of the pacing and stuff, but the online made it worse. A Battle for the Grid will still be there. They're going to have a $10,000 prize pool. That almost makes me want to go to EVO, but I don't make enough money to really warrant going there. Isn't Smash like the worst online? I hear Smash is like the worst game to play online because the netcode is even worse than all the real fighting games. One thing I'll say about Switch Online is I'm willing to... Well, actually, I'm on a family account with my friend, but it's cheap enough to be inoffensive at least. PS Plus is just way too expensive for me. It's not like I can't afford, you know, 50 bucks for a year. It's just that I never use my PS4. So it costs way too much. If PS Plus was like cheaper, or I could just like not have the free games, because most of the free games they offer I already have. The ones that I like I already have. And the other ones I have no interest in. Then I'd be able to warrant paying for it. I haven't subscribed to that thing in like years. At least Switch Online, you can kind of just bend over and accept that you're paying for something you can get for free on PC because it's only 20 bucks a year. There's that hitbox screwing me over again. This is a terrible map for this objective because it's so big. Am I even gonna get the time bonus? I'm gonna have to hurry. I really wish I could just reset the objectives. I don't get why they don't let you do that, because some of these are so boring to do. They take forever. I like the ones that you can finish in like under 10 minutes. These ones that take forever are just soul-crushing sometimes. It's just stupid how they let you do it in the regular tower, but the only tower that matters, which is this one, you can't. Why? Skip all the boring ones. I think Marvel 2 was at its most interesting when it first came out. I've been in the FGC long enough to remember when that game was new. It was very exciting going to the arcade like every week and there'd be like new characters and stuff. And the meta hadn't been completely like figured out at that point. Obviously that was like the dawn of the internet era for the FGC, so information still spread pretty fast, but still not as fast as it does now. And once the meta got figured out, the game lost a lot of interest to me. But it's also understandable why it's played that way, because that game has like no semblance of balance or game design at all. It's basically just Mugen with Capcom characters that was an official release instead of a fan game. Like, they just dumped all the assets that they had into the game. They made a couple new sprites and a couple new mechanics, and that was it. They didn't really make an attempt to balance it or try to keep it more interesting. The whole allure to it was just that it had that many characters. At that time, in that era, it was unprecedented to have 56 characters in one game. So, but that's also a lot of the novelty of the game, and when you try to play competitively, that aspect is lost completely. Because there's really only a couple good characters in the game, and then there are a few assists that can make some of the not terrible characters playable, but you still have to build your team around that assist, so not as much team variety as older games. It's cool that they're actually playing something retro and that it's not just Melee again. It's also a staple of EVO too. Like back when I used to go to EVO in like 2005, you know, that was like the big game. There were no sponsors or anything at that time, barely any. And people were just playing because they liked the game and they didn't care about how much money they were making. I kind of wish things would go back to that way, but it obviously never will. So it makes sense for it to be there. That was like EVO's lifeline for a long time, because when EVO started was when the Capcom era was starting to end. Like they stopped putting out fighting games consistently, and the couple they did, like Capcom Fighting Jam and stuff, never caught on. So all there really was to play was old games. People didn't really didn't want to branch out. At least people branch out now. You know, people are playing stuff like Power Rangers and things like that. I mean, because you know there's no money in it, simply because you know it's available, it's cheap. But back then, I remember from experience, a lot of people didn't want to play anything that was not Capcom. That period of time was called the Dark Ages, which is kind of dumb. There was still plenty of stuff coming out, it just wasn't things that weren't made by Capcom, so that was enough to turn people off and just say that fighting games were dead. They never were. Oh, nice! That was a good combo. Okay, is he maxed out now? He should be. Yeah, he is. Probably when the PC version comes out. I could make one with the footage I have now, but it depends. Because when I get that key, the first thing I'm going to do is open up Cheat Engine, try to find the values for all the currencies, and just max them out. Because I've put a ridiculous amount of time into this, just trying to get these videos out. I don't feel like grinding from scratch again. I mean, it would be different from having to do it on here, because obviously I put like considerable amount of time into the PC version too, but it still takes a while to get there. At the beginning of the game, you can't really, you can't just run straight into infinite mode. Well, you kind of can. But you still have to unlock, like, all the treasures and stuff. There's a considerable amount of new stuff in the campaign, and some of it, like the Perseus fragments, are very grindy and boring. So if I can just skip all that, I'll be happy. I'm very open that I'll be using Cheat Engine on the PC port. I'm not doing all that again. It'll be like the 4th time. I don't really see any reason why I should subject myself to grinding again. I mean, this is the part of the game I like, really, is I can just mess around with teams and stuff. If I can get there faster. Oops. The Basara Matsuri is next week, in like a couple days actually. In about 6 days, our time. It's possible they'll announce something, but it's never a good idea to expect anything because they don't want to make anything but that mobile game. Which isn't even something like KOF All-Star. If it was something like that, I would be down to play that. I'd be more than accepting if something was like something resembling normal gameplay instead of just nothing touchscreen control stuff. I'd be happy with a port. Full disclosure, I'd be happy with a port. Like, just let me play Sumeragi on Switch. But it's probably not going to happen either, because they don't care to revive their dead brand. At least the video game part of it. Brand is still very much alive, but they don't care to make video games for it anymore. It's all the other stuff. And the problem with that is that if you don't live in Japan, you can't even consume that stuff, so it may as well not exist to us. I hear the plays and stuff are really cool, but obviously they're not going to do that here. Probably nothing, yeah. On the other hand, Capcom has been pretty much almost their entire output on the Switch is all just ports, so there is a chance that they'll port it. I mean, Basara 4 ran on a PS3, so I can't see how the Switch could not handle it. You guys need to go away. That should be enough. There we go. Are the unique weapons worth getting? Yes. I don't even know why they still have the ones you can get from story mode in the game, is that they were always pointless. They were like 5 attack points better than the regular 4th weapons, and now you can get 4th weapons from here that have higher stats than the other ones. So they're even more pointless now, and I saw the achievement to like get all the objectives and stuff. I'm like, I'm never going to do that. That's just boring, pointless busy work. There's no No material reward for doing it. Especially now that they increased how many materials you get from finishing the tower. You can get like up to 7. I think what I've noticed is it takes like it takes a pool of 10 drops and it distributes them between the characters randomly. Before you would only get like 2 or 3 each time. So theoretically you can do this twice with the same character and get the weapon already that way. So why would I bother going into the story mode where it takes more work and you have to sit through so much mandatory dialogue and waiting for something that's worthless? There's no point in getting it. I feel like they did a pretty good job fixing this game, but so obviously budget is an issue. Probably given like no money to make this expansion with. I know they brought on a new director to make this version. I think he did a pretty damn good job, but he's obviously given like no resources to do so. That's why stuff that doesn't make sense, like the Spirit of Sanada characters not being recycled in here for no real reason, just because. Oops. Can't believe Nintendo's saying they don't need to make a new Switch. I'm like, how the hell do you not need to make a new Switch? For whatever reason, people are buying, you know, ports of like Skyrim and stuff for the 5,000th time. You know, and it barely even runs at 30 FPS. And those ports are going to dry up really quick when the PS5 and the Xbox One X come out. Well, developers are not going to care to downport their games. It can barely handle like the PS3 game, so how is it going to handle anything else? And Nintendo's output, stuff that they've been making, is like, not like they're bad games, they're all still good games, but they don't come out anywhere near often enough to keep the system afloat. They need to have a more powerful console. One of the great things about the Switch is that they actually have third-party support again, and they haven't had that for a while. They're gonna lose a lot of it if they don't make a more powerful console. That's why I hadn't had a GameCube Nintendo console since the Wii, because there's like no third-party support. I guess they figure they can hold out like another year or something, but they'll definitely have to address it by next year. There's no way around it. I mean, stuff like Doom runs at like sub-native, like barely 30 FPS. How is it going to handle anything else? I'm pretty sure they're aware of it. They just don't want to drop it this year, because I guess they figure they're going to get cannibalized in sales by the new consoles, which will cost a lot more. I guess they just assume that most people have like a PS4 and a Switch, or a Switch and a PC or something, which is true. I think most people don't really use the Switch as their primary gaming platform, but still, they can't deny that ports are a very big part of the library, for better or for worse. Obviously, they'll still have like indie stuff, but anything bigger than that is going to have a real hard time running. Okay, so let's see, how many drops does he need? He needs 5, so he may not actually get them all. I think I'm just going to leave the team as it is. I don't think I have anybody else that has a lot of materials. So I have to do it twice anyway, so there's like no real point. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm probably just going to be playing this off camera from now on anyway. I mean, that's why I like the Switch. I barely play any of the first-party games. I pretty much play it exclusively for third-party stuff. You can see this stuff in here. I have very few of the first-party stuff. The only one I really have, I think, is Mario, which was fun to beat the game, but then everything else was just boring collectathon busy work. I only paid like $40 for it, but other than that, I don't really have a whole lot else of their stuff on here. It's almost entirely third-party, like indie ports. So I really like that they have all that stuff on there, but it's not going to please everybody. I had some extra gold points. I did used to play Doom when I was younger. They updated it to like 60 FPS, and they're adding like, I guess, some certain mods and stuff, but... Shinobi Doom. What was that? I'll look that up right now. Doom Shinobi. You had it backwards. Look this up really quick. This looks pretty cool. I'm all about this. Wow. It's pretty cool how Doom has gotten like consistent support for like 25 years and people are still making stuff for it. I remember winning a bunch of like Doom WADs from my dad's friend's movie show back when I was a teenager. It was just a CD with a bunch of WADs on it. Yeah, this guy did a launcher into a roundhouse kick. Wow. Where do I sign? This guy's got a Patreon. I think I'm going to donate to his Patreon. This looks pretty cool. I'm terrible at first-person shooters, so this would be more up my alley. That's why I don't play first-person shooters. They're like bottom of the barrel for me. I'm very bad at them. Oh, thank you for that. I'm gonna bookmark that. That's very useful information. So I do have Doom on Steam just for mods and stuff. It's giving me some terrible luck tonight. It's giving me, like... This is actually not a bad objective to get if you're trying to clear quickly, but... If it gives you a map like this, it takes, like... Feels like it takes twice as long, because of the way that the spawns are designed. They're only... The enemies can only spawn in designated, like, points on the map. The officers that spawn in this tower are random, but where they spawn is the same regardless of what tower you're doing. So the bigger maps tend to mean that there's the spawn points are really far spread apart. So when it gives you ones like this, the game's just basically flipping you off and telling you to hate yourself. The game's still fun, but I wish that they would address the spawns, make them spawn more enemies. This mode would be a lot more exciting if you could actually like fight crowds on par with what's in the campaign. But you completely trivialize the campaign once you start going into infinite mode. There's no challenge at all. So it's kind of unfortunate. This is like the only way you can really interact with the game once you start doing all the post-game stuff. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, if you could kite them for longer distances, then it would probably work a little bit better. But you can't do that. It's definitely better than Gauntlet mode because the core gameplay mechanic is not missing. People think I'm crazy for saying that, but I didn't like Gauntlet mode much. I pretty much just did it to get the accessories. I never went back to it again. It's just like team-based fighting games when you take away... It's like a team-based fighting game like Dragon Ball FighterZ when you take away the assists and stuff. When it's just one-on-one, the game is pretty shallow. Because a lot of your options are built around the team aspect of the game. Orochi is very much the same way. The game is really only fun when you're utilizing all the team mechanics. When you're not, it's not terribly interesting. So a whole mode where you can't switch at all is just not something I was interested in. And unless you're running Brilliance and stuff, you pretty much have to learn how to use the combo system. Which I think is cool. They actually kind of indirectly encourage you to learn how to use the combo system. It'll take you a lot longer to clear the objectives, and you may not even get the clear bonus if you're not actually doing good combos. Like learning how to 100% and have team composition and synergy and stuff. It's not like it's super important. You could obviously go without it, but it does help. Which I think is cool, because the base game does not encourage playing like that at all. I do wish there were more rewards. I wish they'd bring the accessories back. It'd be cool if the ultimate reward was just like being able to change your character type. Because I used to have that cheat engine mod that just allowed me to change the type whatever I wanted to. I had a lot of fun with that. There's supposed to be like at least one more update in February 20th, so in 2 weeks. They're going to be adding the costumes from the contest that they did. But I think there's going to be some new features as well. Well, that's all they've announced. I don't know how far they'll go. It'd be cool if this game was like another Dynasty Warriors 9 and they just kept updating it every month, but I doubt they'll do that, as much as I would like that to happen. Well, they would charge like $200 for those costumes anyway, so is it really that bad that they're not in the game? Like half the DLC for Orochi Vanilla was just stuff from the other games just recycled, and they're charging way more for it just because they can. Which isn't working, by the way, no one's buying it. I think the season pass for this was like some of the worst DLC I've ever bought. like almost horse armor tier. It's crazy that they charge for more levels when none of them really had a very big officer pile-up, which is what people usually buy Musou game DLC for, you know, to like ease up the grind or just have fun with large groups of enemies. And none of those maps had that, and they didn't even add any new ones either. It was all just on the existing ones that were already in the game. The only thing that was worth buying was the Sacred Treasures. Everything else was a waste of money. I regret buying it. I played most of those levels only once. A lot of them were really awful. I don't really get what's against them. Like, why can't they just recycle the maps from the old game, like Tsukushima and stuff? Because that was the map that everybody liked playing. I will say the Dynasty Warriors 9 season passes were a much better value than the Warriors Orochi one. Obviously Warriors Orochi 4 only got the one season pass, but basically only a third of it was worth using, which was the Sacred Treasures. That's definitely worth like 13 bucks they're charging for it. But the other stuff, no. Total ripoff. Hey, cool, he got his, Zushu got his weapon. Nice. So as you can see here, the total of materials I got is 10. So they changed it, and the original version of the game, it was completely random and you didn't get that much. What it does now is it takes a pool of 10 and it distributes them randomly. So you may have one character get like 5 of the materials, the other one gets 4, and the other one gets 1. It doesn't seem to exceed 10. So sometimes if you're lucky, if you're playing with 2 like maxed out characters and you have one that's just kind of there as a mule to get materials, sometimes you get lucky and that character that's the mule in your team will just get like 7 materials. But either way, you only have to do the tower like usually about twice to get a weapon now, which is nice. They definitely needed to like expedite the grind because there's 177 characters in this game. It took way too long before. I've gotten like more in the past few days than I did the entire time I had it at launch. Another thing that sucks about infinite modes is that you can't get the rare elements from it, which is really weird. You should be able to get it. This is supposed to be like the ultimate challenge. The enemies in here have a ton of health. Like, if you're not playing like with the kind of the playstyle I have, where I just 100% everything, or you're using brilliance, then they take forever to go down. So I find it odd that they want you to go back into story mode, where once you start doing this stuff, there's nothing can even do more than a pixel of damage to you in most cases. They want you to go back to that to get these rare elements to truly maximize your characters. That's why I'm running so low on these, because they don't drop in the infinite mode. I don't know why. It would be cool if they gave you like a like pandemonium mode in infinite mode for like even more of a challenge, and let you get them from here. You can't buy them either. There's no camp upgrade to buy them. No, the only thing you really be spending money on in most cases is just like absorption, osmosis, which are the most expensive ones to buy. Everything else you'll get in pretty massive surplus. Alright, I think I'm done on this for now. I may even get my key tomorrow. Why do they give you 2 more slots? Because you usually ended up putting like the same 6 or 7 things on every character. And even when you were using the rare ones that combine 2 of the elements, you had like barely any room for like something that the character would specialize in, like, like Zhou Yu and stuff. They benefit from having aerial, and there's like no space for that. That's why they added it. You don't have to use it. It's basically just giving you more room to like actually give things to the characters that need a little bit more than just the generic stuff. 8 slots was not enough, especially now that a lot of the other ones are more useful. Like Osmosis in particular was, you rarely had room for it in the original game, but now that they have the Musou chains, and there's like the map that I just did where you get double points for Musou KOs, it's nice to have those extra 2 slots so that you have more room to work with. They made a number of the useless elements actually serve a purpose now, so it's nice that you can use that. Like, for instance, Harmony was useless in the original game because you pretty much maxed out the weapon in like 2 maps anyway, so there was never any reason to put that on your weapon. But now that you have 10 slots, you can put everything else on, and then put Harmony, and then when the weapon's at maxed out at plus 99, you just take it off with something else. It doesn't really make the game much easier. It mostly just gives you more options. And like right now, my weapon's plus 99, so I can take off that Harmony and put something else. You couldn't do that before. Also, things like Reach too. Reach plus 20 is a massive difference for some characters. Some of the characters with really crappy hitboxes or honest hitboxes were like barely playable for before. Now that you can have plus 20, it actually helps quite a bit. So having the extra 2 slots is actually pretty huge. Alright, so I'll probably get his weapon next, but I assume I'm going to get the key sometime this week, so I don't know if I'll care to do it right now. This is not the best port, but it's a damn good game on the Switch. I think it's cool that they added a mode where you can just grind and just have fun messing around with the combo system. I like that they... It's a pretty good portable game now. It wasn't so much before, now it is. See how easy this is? It takes no skill anymore. But they still want you to play this mode for whatever reason. Wonder how much message lag I'm gonna get because everything's dying in one charge attack. How much damage he's doing. This full combo does like 5%, barely. Just get one shot. I feel like those people on like action MMOs, free-to-play MMOs that like spend thousands of dollars and can one-shot everything. That's how going back to the story mode is in this version of the game. You just decimate everything. Just kind of dumb that they force you to do it to get rare elements. Well, you look at how much damage I'm doing in the infinite mode, even with maxed out weapons, they still take a pretty significant time to go down. When you get to the tower, the final tower, for the first time, you really have to learn how to use the combo system, because the Slay barely does anything in there. It doesn't shred their HP. But it's cool that they actually want you to learn how to use all the mechanics. Ah, there we go. Got a decent amount of stuff from that. I think that only took like 5 minutes or something. There's like almost no locked doors on that map, so I guess just bringing a bunch of decked out characters and just butt mashing through that is probably the fastest way to get rare elements. I really don't feel like you should need to do that in the first place, but if they're gonna make you do it, then that's the best way. Anyway, I am done on this game for tonight.
どうということはない。よし。
じゃあよし。
Where's the Switch port for this? I would buy that shit in a heartbeat. It's one of my favorite games. I like this better than DMC5 in some ways. It's like the only character action game with tag mode. This game does not have the best assets, but I can't describe how fun it is to play, and I think it actually does look pretty good in motion because of all the crazy dynamic camera angles and stuff that they have. Son. Chat like not working or something? It's weird. Refresh. No, alright. Every time I play this game, someone asks for a console port. I don't know what to tell people. No one bought this game. It's one of the best character action games on PC, but most people that play these kinds of games don't have a gaming PC. Except for the DMC people. A couple of them have actually tried this game and like it. But kind of dumb to not port it to PC where PS4 where more people would play it. I don't get why they didn't even make an effort to like port it over. I know for a fact people would buy it, especially on sale. Like, back when this game came out, I just got endless comments, people asking when it's going to be on PS4. They don't have a gaming PC.
Hello. Get ready.
Block just like randomly stopped working. It's weird. Game's still quite buggy. It's a very impressive game considering it was made by one person. And he did a better job at like good combat than a lot of the Western studios can do with like 1,000 times more resources. I just wish more people would play it, but because it doesn't have Devil May Cry in the name and it's also a PC exclusive, a lot of people have not played it. A very fun game. I still have fun playing it. There are definitely some things it does better than DMC5, mostly just having like tag mode. The only thing I really dislike about Assault Spy is that they took out the infinite super meter. That was a lot of fun to mess with, because I beat that game on the hardest difficulty, which is actually quite challenging. The enemies actually attack more than DMC5 in some ways. One of the biggest complaints about DMC5 is how passive the enemies are, even on DMD. Like on DMD, they basically just gave them more health. They didn't actually like make them attack more. In Assault Spy, you always have to be paying attention to what you're doing, because most of the enemies are long range. And there's no camera trick in Assault Spy either, so even if they're off camera, they can still shoot you. So even though the enemies are still quite defenseless when you actually get them in a combo, you pretty much can't ever do a full combo without either canceling out of it or doing something to reflect the bullets. So it's kind of has a unique enemy design from a lot of other character action games. There are a couple of short range enemies, but the majority of them are all long range. So even though you can do all those crazy combos and stuff, if you don't pay attention, you will die. Especially on the harder difficulties where they take away health points. So some ways it could be a little bit more exhilarating than DMC5 because you're pretty much always in danger. I played through DMD of DMC5 and I wasn't really impressed. Wasn't really wasn't that fun. So mostly just give everything a ton of health. Didn't really make it any harder. And all the bosses are they're all humanoid. They can all be juggled, which is pretty fun. I like the guard crush system. That was one of the things I suggested when the game was still being developed because I was a beta tester. They're all pretty fun to fight. They're not like Kratos quality, but they're up there. I enjoy fighting them still. Especially when you land all your parries and stuff, and you land the crush, and you take off like half of their health in one combo. That's always really satisfying. I think some people don't like that aspect of it, but nothing in that game has a ton of health. Everything dies pretty quickly, even on the harder difficulties. The only boss that's really a real pain in the ass is, what's his name, Showtime. That fight's pretty badly designed. I'm sad he didn't go back and fix it. Oh, cool, I got that item that gives you the little, knives proc. Those are pretty fun. Nothing good. Oh yeah. I want to take that or keep this. Keep the daggers. I like the sword because it just has an easy launcher, but I don't have a super for it yet. It's only level 1, so I think I should probably take this. These are the enemies I don't like. These assholes they added that don't stagger. Feel very clunky to fight. No, it's a paid game. It's a Chinese game that was early access, and then they took it out of early access, and then they said the team broke up. They just like rage quit. But the last update they added to it was pretty good. They added like a bunch of they added like new bosses. They added a couple new characters. They added the new items are probably the best part. But I don't like some of the enemies they added because the game is like very heavily based around. It's heavily based around combos. So when you start adding bosses and enemies that don't stagger, the game became a lot less fun to play. Because I'm sure you noticed there, like when you do a basic string on an enemy that doesn't stagger, you go through them. So a lot of times the last hit of your combo doesn't even work. And I don't really know why they added them like that. Most of the other bosses were able to be combo, but then they started adding regular enemies with super armor, and the game just kind of fell apart for me. It's a really fun game though. It's probably like the best combat in a roguelike I've played. But the problem with it for the longest time was that the items were very boring, which is something that generally happens in roguelikes where they're more skill based. You know, you have the games like Isaac where you're like basically defenseless without the items. You can't do anything without them. And then you have stuff like the game I was just playing and like Wizard of Legend and like Dead Cells and stuff like that. Like you can beat those games with like nothing, but the problem is the builds aren't very interesting. But they did add some cool stuff in the final patch. It just sucks that they stopped developing the game. They just like disappeared. As there was supposed to be like an English version. I'm using a built-in Unity auto translator to play that game, and I can kind of tell what the items do. I can't read any Chinese. If it was Japanese, I could probably get by, but I can't read any. I can't read any Chinese, so I'm using that. I don't know if they're ever going to make another game. I heard that there was like a mobile version of it. I'm curious if there is. They also took like features out of the game too. It used to have like net play and full co-op mode and stuff, and they took that out. So not only did they like rage quit making the game, they just they took out features too. Would I ever make an action game? I don't have the resources to. I obviously have the passion to, but no money, no resources. What's up, Anthony? I mean, I've had my hand in development in some games, like Assault Spy. I was a beta tester for, and I gave them a lot of feedback. I was the one that asked for the bosses to be able to be comboed more consistently, because back when the game came out, the boss fights were pretty bad. Like, the being able to dodge the attacks and stuff was fine. It wasn't a problem with their hitboxes. It was mostly just that they would only stagger from the back. So you got in a lot of situations where you try to get to their back to keep them in a combo, and they would get out at random, and it just didn't feel good to play. So I was the one that fought for them to make it so that you could actually use the combo system, which is a problem in a lot of action games, to give you all these crazy moves and combo systems and stuff, and you can't ever use them on anything that's not just a basic mook. I think the bosses are really fun in Assault Spy because you can just tear them down really quickly, but they also fight back. And they have pretty significant tells for everything they do. There's no bullshit like 2-frame startup moves like some games have, where you just basically are always going to take damage if they do it. It's a pretty well-designed game. I think it definitely has more aggressive enemies than DMC5, which I wish I was lying, but I just beat DMD on that last month, and the enemies barely attack. I like that they made the enemies less annoying, but they could have made them more aggressive to match the player's power, but instead you kind of just destroy everything. There's no real, no challenge. I don't want to play some LNS, and I'm going to go to bed. Give me a second. Rip. Messed that attempt up. Still, I feel like playing someone else. I think Yun's my favorite character.
Don't expect mercy from me.
Come on! You can do it! Ah, he's in the nether region. The alternate dimension. Alright, that's gonna do it for me for now. I might come back in a little bit, actually. Need to go grab a snack. I'm getting kind of hungry. Tomorrow, I don't know if I'll get the key or not. Last I heard, they're going to be sending them out soon. But I'd be under embargo anyway, so that means I probably won't be playing Orochi 4 Ultimate Switch on the channel anymore. Or at least until the embargo lifts. So hopefully, when I get the key sometime this week, I'll be able to use Cheat Engine and just get all my shit back. So I don't want to do another 40 hours of grinding that I already did from scratch just last month, back in late December. I might come back after I have a snack. I did finish my grinding on Mass Builder. I got pretty much all the best stuff in the game for melee build, so the only thing I really have left to do on that is just grind out some more money, which I might actually come back and do. I might try to get like a cool 20,000 or something and then just sit on that game until the update. Other than that, I don't really know what else I'd play. Maybe some DMC5 modified. I did get some other new games too. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. If I get the key, I will let you guys know. Because I know people will come in here and ask why I'm not playing the game and they don't understand how embargoes work and stuff. It'd be kind of really weird to like get a key from them and then being under embargo for the PC version and then be playing the Switch version. I don't really think that's something I should be doing. So as soon as I get that key, I'm going to be playing some other stuff. I still haven't unbacklogged Vesperia. That's what I was looking into doing. Scourgebringer comes out tomorrow too. I have a key for that. I'm kind of hoping that they'll make that game a little less frustrating. A couple other things as well. So yeah, if not later tonight, then probably in the morning or in the afternoon, depending on. I'm probably going to go pay off Zero ZX collection tomorrow and probably grab some lunch. After that, I'll find something to play. See you guys later.